Thank you to Silver Hyozenru for suggesting the layout changes, and thank you to Todd123100 for today's video. You're probably wondering how I got here. Hi, I'm Chazz Princeton, and this is the time I died and was reincarnated as a Slifer Slacker. How did he get this jacket already? We're not even at the island yet. Alright, so hear me out. This hairstyle is the closest thing we have to Chazz. You have like the side bangs, super pointy, it's taking the same angle, the little things at the end. We need a, there we go. Resting bitch face, perfect. Hey, it's the guy who plays samurais. We're going to be slightly tweaking the rules here based off of all the different comment suggestions, so I will no longer be stopping the video when I lose an important battle, but I'll leave those losses in so that you can see where I would have potentially failed at. Other than that though, I'm going to be using as much of an anime based deck as I can. Obviously, Spirit Caller has a very different deck list for these different characters to add a lot more staples. I'm only going to be cherry picking some of those so that I could keep up with the power scaling of the game, but not so many that my deck is drastically different like you might see with some of these opponent duels. It's gonna be weird seeing Chazz pop up since he's kind of your rival for this game. I guess I'm facing some sort of existential crisis. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Unfortunately, even though I am the great Chazz Princeton, I'm gonna be stuck in the Slifer Red dorm with these losers as my company, so I'm gonna wanna spend as much time outside as possible. In any case, here are all the different cards that Chazz does not have access to in this game, so all the deck lists for this playthrough are gonna be modified according to such. And here is my Infernal deck. It's gonna revolve mostly around monster destruction effects. I have the Mystic Plasma Zone in order to give me that extra attack point edge because I am supposed to be an Obelisk Blue Duelist. That also gives me access to much stronger cards than before, like Tribute to the Doomed or Nobleman of Extermination, Hand Destruction, and for that reason I also added Card Destruction. But that was more or less the Chthonian deck, and this is what we're gonna be rocking for quite a while. Then, because he doesn't have Despair of the Dark in this game, I've replaced his 2800 with Zera the Mont, so we will have access to that ritual monster for this deck. Since many of the missions are triggered by specific levels, I'm going to be using cheat codes in order to level up ahead of time. How do you think I got so rich? We ran into an old woman named Dorothy whose truck broke down on the way to campus. But I don't do charity. Now that I'm done exploring the island, I head back to the dorm to see my living situation, and no. Structure deck posters on the wall? Bunk bed? No. We need renovations ASAP, and while I can make this place look better, it doesn't get rid of the rats. Fuck, they changed the locks. At the end of my night, I walk over to the lighthouse, and that's where I see her.
Wake up, Chazz. It's Alexis.
For the most part, since we've already seen the events of the game in the Cyrus playthrough, I'm going to be skipping ahead at a faster pace, so we're going straight into the first official duel with Jaden Yuki. He starts the duel with his signature Skyscraper field spell, and I never noticed the ambiance sound effects in the back. I didn't consent to this ASMR though, so I summon the Mystic Tomato and I attack into his face down. And I am so sorry because I know that tasted disgusting. Now Avion hits the field and I have to flip over my trap card to get rid of it so that he doesn't run over me quite yet, and this opens up his field for direct attacks. But he had the Flute of Summoning Karibo, and again, I'm really sorry. Now this is my favorite combo of the deck. When Mystic Tomato is destroyed in battle, I get to summon Dark Geroid on the opponent's turn to weaken one of their monsters, so now that Sparkman drops to 800, everybody can run past him and swing directly for game. Since there aren't any blues I can hang out with, I have to socialize with the yellows, and I'm over here dueling the guy from King of Queens. It would appear that I've lost a lot of favor with Crowler though, since I'm now associated with the Slifer slums, so I'm being dragged into all of their problems, hence why I now have to duel against the Duel Giant, which, mind you, has been going around robbing obelisk blues, and if you haven't noticed, I'm kind of rocking the blue right now, so I'm directly in danger. And isn't that a rare card? Where the fuck did he get one of those? This Duel Giant is also using a Fiend deck, and since nobody's really playing any of the bad Fiends, this means that our decks are pretty similar, so this is a match to see who can use the cards the best. At first he did a solid job of keeping my board clear, but now that he has no cards in hand and just a giant germ to protect himself, my Ring of Destruction can get rid of his card advantage in order to clear the way once again so that I can stockpile more monsters onto the field and slowly overwhelm him until he's dead. And now that that's over, we can finally challenge the other Obelisk Blues. The way that they're speaking to me though, it would appear that they have no respect for me, so I'm gonna have to really step up and show them who's boss. Since Torimaki's best monster are Luster and Spear Dragons, I use Abyssal Designator, declaring Wind Dragon so that he loses one of his copies. He ended up opening with one anyways, so that was unfortunate, but with the Dark Geroid combo, it's nothing we can't handle. We build up for the Hell Poemer, and it's all downhill from there. I'm so sick of the disrespect. Torimaki is one thing, but how do we do up against Mototani? Well, Hell Poemer can actually run over basically every single monster in his deck, so with Nobleman and Raigeki Break getting rid of the more annoying cards, I was able to simply outpace him over time, especially with Abyssal Designator getting rid of one of the only monsters that he plays in his deck, so he was bricking for days and I pushed for game. If only Chazz were here, you'd go... This feels like a dystopian future, bro. Yeah. What now, bitch? What now, bitch? Fight back. Fight back. Cyrus tells us that we should head to the lake at night, and this is where we encounter our biggest hurdle of the game. Ourselves. With my deck being almost identical to his, it's going to come down to who can cause the most amount of monster destruction to their opponent, and I was able to get rid of everybody's Chthonian blasts, so at least that's something I don't have to deal with, but he does have other staple cards that I'm not running at this point in the playthrough yet. He flips over the MST on my Sword of Deep-Seated to stop my attack boost, but there is a problem with this. One, it goes right back to the top of my deck, and two, I had a second one in hand. While the Mystic Plasma Zone boosts his monsters too, he can't handle a tomato and a coin flip, which, to be fair, we've all seen what I can do with a coin. So he's forced to play in defense mode. Unfortunately though, Plasma Zone lowers the defense stats of dark monsters, making it even easier for me to decimate his forces and push through for a win. Even after proving we are the real Chazz, we still can't get any respect around here. I am so tired of these people talking to me this way. You have no idea. We've proven ourselves to everyone else on this island so far. Now it's time to prove ourselves to Alexis. Baron of the Fiend Sword has become something of my go-to monster here, but she brings out the amazingly powerful Duname's Dark Witch, but I immediately destroy it and then I attack directly. After which she manages to get out onto the field the Command Knight, which I then destroy and then attack directly. And finally, with all these monsters on the field and her life points looking low, she summons the Blade Skater and actually kills my monster. But then I blow it up and attack directly. Now it's finally time to see who our new spirit monster is going to be. Something shiny on the ground. Makes sense, that makes sense. The professor now mocks me in front of the entire class, and so the humiliation ritual continues. Speaking of which, Crowler has given me new cards and is asking me to duel myself in front of the school. The script is so hard to write. Even though I canonically have new cards now, I'm actually going to still be using my old Inferno deck because I want to prove not only that it's good, but that it doesn't matter what deck Chazz uses, it matters how skillfully the deck is being piloted. I also want to take this chance to say that I'm not going to be adding the Adhesive Explosive into my deck. One, because it's a little boring to keep using the same 3 spirit monsters, and 2, because I already have plenty of monster destruction or removal, as you can see already by my opening hand, so there's really no need for me to give myself an extra advantage over my competition. At the end of the day, this is supposed to be a challenge, and that's exactly what this becomes when he opens the Luminous Spark Field spell, boosting his 1700 monsters like Neo up to 22, which allows me to do great deals of damage with the Ring of Destruction. And now that I've destroyed his monsters, I can attack I will end my turn. My life points are already pretty low, so taking damage here isn't ideal, but here's my other favorite tomato combo. I use its effect to summon from deck, but first, I chain the Chthonian Blast, destroying the weakest monster on the field and doing burn damage to both of us, so that whatever happens, my new monster will be able to come out safe, as if this combo gets sequenced correctly, it allows me to remove the remaining monster that he was going to attack me with, while still getting a new body onto the field, and in this case, Dark Gyroid will be able to lower the attack point of X-Head Cannon enough that I can now swing over it on my turn, completely flipping the momentum of the game. He's left with just the Z Metal tank, who unfortunately runs into the Wall of Illusion, so although it dies, it'll be sending his monster right back to his hand, and now that his monster has been returned, I can attack directly. And now I've completed the conditions for another rule that I've imposed on myself. I have beaten the Union deck with one of my pre-existing decks, so now I can consider it unlocked. The only thing pathetic here is that I am my only challenge in this game. No matter how much I upscale the pixels of my emulator, this is about as clear as the image gets, so, I apologize for that. But this right here is the brand new deck. We have 3 of each X, Y, and Z. We have Thunder Dragon in order to thin the deck. There's the Shining Angel to help get to our actual Union type monsters. We have the Heavy Mech Support platform in order to help keep monsters alive or just boost their attack power. And we even have the Air Knight Parshath as a 1 tribute monster who can potentially let us draw extra cards. The rest are just cards that Chazz himself has already played. I threw in the Magical Mallet, unfortunately, because he did run it. I'll probably cut it at some point later down. The Gold Sark is here to help with consistency, since we don't actually play a lot of monsters. And then Smashing Ground is a nice staple. Also, really quickly, Ultimate Offering is a really nice tech card. I forgot that it was legal in 2007, since the unions have to be normal summoned unless I get the frontline base. Ultimate Offering can help get to our fusion monsters a little bit faster. With a new deck being assembled now, it's time to duel Bastion Misawa, and now that I'm thinking about it, it's actually really funny that they had such bitter tensions between each other, and when everybody has to team up for the Shadow Riders, that kind of just goes away. I think that's another plot point I've never realized did not get addressed or fully resolved in the show. If I'm wrong though, let me know. Unfortunately, the duel was nothing special to talk about. He didn't end up drawing a single monster, so easy victory. If you think the world is a frustrating place now, Blair has been queerbaiting since before it was cool. Since this child managed to somehow sneak onto an island and clearly her parents don't care enough to call the goddamn police to come look for her, it's now my responsibility to mercilessly whoop her ass on their behalf. Now that we're here, I have an interesting fact for you guys. As you guys know, Blair's deck revolves around the Unhappy Girl, whose effect is very similar to the Maiden in Love, in that once you engage in combat with it, your monster won't be able to do battle for you. And thanks to the interviews done with Hikokubo Masahiro recently for the GX Duel Memorial albums, we've learned that this actually was supposed to be her ace monster, but they needed to create a new monster because they simply didn't think it was appropriate, nor did it represent her themes of being a girl who is in love. Then I never thought I'd say this, but Magical Mallet came in handy because once my hand was completely full up to 6 cards, I was able to shuffle everything back into the deck in order to draw a new hand, which gave me access to the Smashing Ground and the Dark Core spell cards. I combined the X-Head Cannon and the Z-Metal Tank for the XZ Tank Cannon, and I empty out a full clip, discarding my whole hand to pop her face down cards, and with her monsters destroyed, I attack directly. Bastion wants round 2 with his stalled burn deck, but with my new rare cards, I have a lot of versatility at my disposal, so I'm not gonna get caught lacking this time. Getting back to the duel though, I was under level limit area B for the longest time, forcing me into defense mode. I love these poses, by the way. But then my XYZ combined to make the XYZ Dragon Cannon. And while he does get forced into defense as well, I get to use his effect in order to empty the clip and pop any card on Bastion's side of the field.
Hyper Destruction!
I knew that his monsters had to have been really difficult to deal with since he hadn't flipped them face up or anything, and now I activate Return from the Different Dimension, paying half of my life points in order to re-summon my 3 machine monsters that had been removed from the game, my Z Metal Tank, my Y Dragon Head, and my X Head Cannon. Now that I have most of his back row clear, my X, Y, and Z can make an attempt on his life points. And since they would get banished anyways at the end of this turn, I banish them once more in order to make yet another XYZ Dragon Cannon, with its Hyper Destruction effect allowing me to clear anything that Bastion plays. This is game. We're finally at the abandoned dorm, home to one of Alexis's many kidnappings. Skipping straight into the duel, I lead with the X-Head Cannon, and by his second turn, Titan gets the Different Dimension Assailant, which is like, come on guys, you're not even trying anymore. You know, Jaden and Alexis, I understand. Warriors, women, makes perfect sense, right? But a fucking Fiend deck? You guys are just splashing in staples wherever you feel like it now, and it's pretty bullshit, I gotta say. But thankfully, we don't have a problem getting over it whatsoever, and we actually get a fusion off here, making our XZ Tank Cannon to pop his face down card, which was my only other concern, and we attack for an easy victory in a first real Shadow game. Of course, as punishment for even being in the abandoned dorm, I'm stuck with Jaden of all people, and we have to battle against the Paradox Brothers, so this is how that goes. Doc starts his duel off with the Mausoleum of the Emperor field spell, allowing you to pay thousands of life points instead of tributing to summon monsters, which he does for a set card, and when Jaden tries to take advantage of that for Blade Edge, he's instantly met with a trap hole, putting him at a massive disadvantage at first, but of course, one fusion monster later, and he's completely turning the tides of the duel, especially when he miracle fusions into the elemental hero Electrum, who can skyrocket his own attack points and completely dismantle any defense that Dox has for himself, and a few turns later, it's eventually over. But now that the amateurs are out of the way, it's time to show you how a true elite duelist would handle a matchup like this. I open with the Z Metal Tank and I leave its 1500 ass in attack mode, which Para takes the bait and swings over it, or at least he thought he was going to, because then I flip over my face down Limiter Removal, doubling its attack points, doing a counter attack during Para's turn, unfortunately putting my Metal Tank in the graveyard, but that's exactly where I'm going to want it. Then I'm using my X-Head Cannon, and he can't deal with it, so he just sets a monster, which I swing into, but I predicted that it was going to be a 2000 defense wall because he has multiple of those, so in the battle phase, I flip over my trap card rollout in order to equip Z Metal Tank from the graveyard, giving my X-Head an extra 600 points. Once I've gotten past all of his different 2K defenders, he's left with absolutely nothing to work with, so I just very simply swing for game. Despite all of my remarkable accomplishments, I'm still stuck in the stupid Slifer dorm where I'm surrounded by slobbering idiots like this that are getting their tears all over my cashmere. Ugh. Alright, so he has Berserk Gorilla with 2200. And all I have is a Shining Angel. Alright, well, you know, I got a Recruiter, I have an MST, a Premature Burial. As long as I draw a decent... Fuck. Okay, well... It's alright, it's alright. So as long as I draw a decent body on this next turn, I'll be just fine. Okay, so what I can do here is I can revive... I lost to Chumley. I lost to Wolf. And then he just thanks me and leaves. Clearly I need another upgrade to my deck, so I go up back to the well and I find my new spirit monster. See, Wing Karibo and Ojama Yellow are already taken, so I thought that Soitsu would be a perfect replacement for Ojama Yellow. Unfortunately, I have to put him in my deck now. He already puts in work for me, as sometimes on the Monday quizzes he removes one of the wrong answers. Not that I needed his help, because I am a true elite. Now I'm hoping that it can accomplish a lot more for me, because we are here back at the lake. You see, other Chazz is here venting all of his frustrations about feeling completely outcast and feeling frustrated with his last failures. So here he is taking it out on himself. I'm going to stay with the Infernal deck though, because that's the deck that he was supposed to switch back to. I hadn't realized until now that Spirit Callers changed that and had him stick with the XYZ deck, which I guess is a downgrade since he loses out on a lot of the destruction effects unless he makes a fusion monster specifically. It is what it is though. My nobleman removes his face down Trap Jammer, freeing up my Ring of Destruction to destroy his Shining Angel to prevent him from floating into extra bodies, and then he falls for my Tomato Bomb combo, so now his field is wide open. Later he fails to destroy my face down monster, and it turned out to be a Crass Clown. While I usually don't deal with clowns, I'm already dueling him, so I'll make an exception this one time. Using its effect, I get to bounce Shining Angel back to the hand, making room for a couple of direct attacks. And we've seen this time and again, so we all know how this goes. Unfortunately for me, I had this obvious mental breakdown in front of this massive lake where I dropped my entire deck.
Whoopsie.
You jerk!
Relax. That card more than makes up for it.
Yeah, well, it better. What? Some no-name?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Just like I mentioned in the Cyrus video, I have to do my best to keep things canon. So Soitsu wasn't just a random pickup, it was because I'm going to be taking on the North Academy Challenge. And you know what that means. We're doing a draft. Chazz had to make a deck out of random cards outside of North Academy. These are all the cards that he picked up that were actually available in the game, so they have to be added to my deck. And then of course I'm gonna have to add Soitsu instead of Ojama Yellow since that's my spirit monster. So building a deck out of random cards, I'm gonna use these 3 cubes right here. I'm gonna take 20 cards from each cube, and then see what cards are actually in Spirit Caller, and then make a deck from there. Only 10 cards per pack, 20 cards total, 5 seconds. Ooh, I can't take too many OP cards either. Copycat's great. So I want to limit myself to 5 broken cards, maybe? I need some more normal summons. Oh, Dragon Piper, that's a spirit monster. Ooh, Slate Warrior? Who threw that away? How lucky of me. I'm forced to take you. It's you or Celtic Guardian. Billy's Nostalgia Cube. I would actually run the Dark Scorpion cards. Messenger of Peace. Realistically, no one would throw away a Dark Hole, so I don't think I can pick that up. Pazoo's probably 2. Okay, maybe a warrior deck somewhere out there realized that this was the worst card in the structure deck because it doesn't equip anything. Well, I don't even have the ability to play banned cards. So they threw away Jinzo because he tried to steal their body. So this ended up being my deck. Not a lot of battle traps. You can pause if you want to see.
Rock salt, f***ing rock salt.
I need to know if my deck is gonna actually be playable and if I need to cut it down from 58 cards. So who better to test against than an Obelisk Blue? So here I am dueling Alexis. So I played this spell card, destroyed her monsters, attacked directly, and she wasn't able to keep up. So I guess the deck is fine. I talked to her again and she mentions about how she heard a rumor that Chazz took a boat out into the ocean and left the island, and no one seems to really care about the guy, so if no one else cares, I care, and I hope the guy's okay wherever he's at.
Lousy scrubs. It's all their fault. Dr. Crowler, Bastion.
Chumley.
We believe in you. You just gotta believe in yourself. Duh.
Anyways, it's time to duel Jinzo, and I can do the funniest thing here. So I summon the mighty, the powerful Celtic Guardian, and he plays Gilgarth, a significantly better monster who does not get an animation, but he's fallen for my Magical Hats trap card. So he correctly guesses the hats, and now I'm kind of just here, honestly. I flip over my Bottomless Shifting Sand to get rid of the Gilgarth, and I draw not just my Giant Rat, but my Mystic Tomato, both of which I only have 1 copy each. So with this field presence, he's honestly just kind of stuck playing defense mode, so he doesn't have a lot going on, until I manage to finally summon out the Jinzo. Now you know what happens from here. I destroy his monster, I attack directly, he can't keep up, and then I win. Up next in this North Academy challenge that I'm doing is Dimitri with his Copycat Crowler deck. He manages to get both Mech Chaser and Castle out nice and early, so now he can swing over my Giant Rat that I thankfully drew that floats into Gazelle. Ring gets rid of the Mech Chaser, and now on my turn I get to power up my Gazelle with an equip spell, run over his soldier, and then use Chick the Yellow to bounce the castle back to his hand so he doesn't get a free Ancient Gear Golem. Sadly, he had the UFO Turtle, so he runs over the Chick the Yellow, and I'm forced to draw and then play the Lightning Vortex so that he's not spamming bodies, but it's too little too late, as soon enough he gets his Ancient Gear Golem finally, and now I'm kind of in a position here. I do draw and then set the Needle Ceiling, hoping that that'll be my out to this situation, but he actually doesn't go for it, as he decides to destroy my monsters before he puts another monster on board, almost like the AI knew exactly what I was playing. As the new main character, I top deck like an absolute god, getting the Messenger of Peace and walling out long enough to get 4 bodies on the field so that I can flip over the Needle Ceiling trap card, leaving us at 1 body apiece. He does a Tribute Summon. I managed to out that next turn with 35 cards in deck, top decking again into the card that I need in order to run him over. He responds, of course, in the most Professor way possible by throwing down his known Lightning Vortex, getting rid of my monster. We go back and forth, bricking for a little bit, and then eventually he finally thinks he summons the monster he needs, the Reflect Bounder, attacking me with its mirror shot directly, except I was prepared the entire time, as I was sitting on Dimension Wall, reflecting his bounder right back at him and securing the win. It only gets steeper from here, as we're finally at Tyranno Hasselberry, and the majority of the dinosaurs in his deck can run over all of my monster lineup, especially with the field spell active, so I have to tread very lightly here. Is what I want to say, except he just summoned the Mad Sword Beast, and then Jurassic Egg, I blew it up, he bricked, and then that was the game. Yeah. This is the most annoying week of my life, as everybody around me keeps bothering me. Somebody steals the King of Games deck, and I'm personally not interested in Justice, but if anybody's gonna have the strongest and rarest cards in the world, it should be me, Chazz Princeton. So here I am. He starts off real threatening with 2 Skilled Dark Magicians, but he triggered my magical hat, leaving me alive as he missed both times, so I draw a combo even more potent than Silverfang Raigeki. I got Lightning Vortex and Chick the Yellow. First, I use his effect to stack the top card of his deck to make sure that he doesn't draw a monster. After that, I use its effect every other time it does damage to bounce back the last spell or trap card that he set, and he coincidentally never gets a monster on the field, so I win. It's time for Tyranno 2 Electric Boogaloo, and with no battle traps at the moment, his Hydrogeddon completely tears through me. Thankfully, I float into a Newdoria, and it seems like he doesn't have a third Hydrogeddon, but I'm far from safe because he does get 2 tokens onto the field that he tributes for the Superconductor Tyranno, an even stronger dinosaur than what we had to deal with last time. But just like Chazz was able to find a handful of powerful cards in the Tundra, I was able to find this Brain Control in order to make it my own, power it up, put down a few more bodies for extra damage, and he gets through the night thanks to Survival Instinct. And to my utter surprise, Hasselberry plays Heavy Storm even though my Big Bang Shot is equipped to his Tyranno, banishing it from the game. He thinks he's safe while my goblins are in defense mode, but I have 2 words for him. Rock Salt.
Rock salt, f***ing rock salt!
Now that we've done all this training with our North Academy deck, Crowler announces that the school duel is right around the corner and that we're doing the round robin tournament to decide who is the Duel Academy representative. After this tournament takes place, there's a duel that Chazz has to do, and we have no other way to accurately replicate it, so I'm going to be doing it here. I'm going to do these 2 duels with a deck full of monsters that have 500 attack or less, just like Chazz had to do against his older brother. Except, that was too easy for me, so I've decided to add the restriction just like Chazz did, of lowering all my monsters to only having 0 original attack. Here's how the tournament goes. Bastion has a very dangerous setup for me because he opens with Kishido Spirit and a Legendary Ocean. This means that with my Copycat in hand, if I copied his monster, I don't get its stat buffs, so I'm weaker than it. And if I got rid of the field spell, I can't crash into it because Kishido Spirit would keep his monster alive, so only my Copycat would die. So the only solution that I have is summon Ojama Green and then activate Creature Swamp. After all, if my monsters don't have any attack, then I'll just battle using your monsters. But he has the Woboku this time, unfortunately, so I miss out on some juicy 2000 damage here. His next move is to use the Nightmare Steel Cage, preventing both of us from attacking, so I take this opportunity to play Magical Library in attack mode to get a free spell counter on it. On my next turn, I use Copycat to mimic his Oxygeddon, though even though it's in defense mode, I wouldn't be able to destroy it because our attack points are still tied, so he's protected by the Kishido Spirit. So my move is to attack the face down instead, which, surprise, was another Oxygeddon. I can only destroy 1, so he attacks using Rush recklessly for the extra damage to get rid of my Copycat with the other dragon. Very unfortunate for me, and right when I think I finally have him in a corner, he flips up his Shrink spell card, so now I've lost my only offense. But there's still hope, because now that's 3 spell counters on Library, so I get a draw. Okay. For my first spell, I activate my Scapegoat, putting 4 bodies on my field. Then for my second spell, I activate Mage Power to boost my library, which is responded to with the Mystical Space Typhoon so that I won't get that boost. But that was all a setup, because not only do I now have my 3rd spell counter on my library, I get the Dream Goat combo of Scapegoat and United We Stand, powering up my monster 800 for everybody on the field, bringing my library up by 4,000 attack points. Combined with the rear Yoku that's in my hand, I guarantee that all 4,000 are going straight to Bastion's life points. I do rather fine holding my position, but I'm not making any advantage, but I am keeping his zone somewhat locked as I manage to grab the Ojama Trio, but ultimately, this all comes crumbling down as he flip summons the Penguin Soldier, undoing all of the progress that I managed to make, and I spend the next several turns fighting for my life, trying to stay alive as he sets Penguin Soldier every turn and then flips it up every second turn. I just cannot keep anything decent on the board, and I'm not drawing anything better. I do get and activate the Future Fusion, but since I've drawn both of my Ojama Yellows now, I cannot make Ojama King, so all this does for me is give me a free shuffle of the deck. How unfortunate. And as more time goes by, at some point I finally flip over the Justy Break. I really didn't want to do this because he had a vanilla on his field, but I have to just take the L here and take the direct hit. And now my loyal Royal Magic Library is going to be shipped off. I drew into a second copy, my final copy of Creature Swap. So now I'm using his other Sea Snake monster in order to try to ravage his life points with. I attack the face down monster that he has, hoping and expecting to finally get rid of this pesky Penguin Soldier, but I was completely shook to see that it was actually just the Hydro Get On. He hadn't set the Penguin yet. Bastion summons the Abyss Soldier, and unlike our last run, I think I finally lost the duel here because this time he uses its effect, but he bounces my Future Fusion. So we found another exploit. The AI can't tell if Future Fusion is going to properly resolve or not, and it sees that as a much bigger threat, so it continuously sends it back to my hand, throwing away his resources, and at some point also throwing away his Penguin Soldier for me. So I keep activating it because now he's giving me a free spell card every turn to use so that I can keep drawing cards with my Royal Magic Library until finally he attacks my Ojama Yellow, triggering my Justy Break, breaking his board, and allowing me to attack for game. Never thought I'd say this, but Bastion, great game. The day is far from over though, because now we have to deal with Jade and Yuki. I set down my library and I'm going to play very conservatively, not using the Graceful Charity just yet. I want to make sure that I have plenty of cards that I'm perfectly fine with discarding before I try to resolve it. And luckily for me, while he does get the classic King of the Swamp search, which he seems to start with a lot, he doesn't have anything aggressive this time around, giving me a chance to do something. So I tribute summon for my Satellite Cannon. I know that this is technically a Prince Ojin card, but I'm also aware that Zane has a copy in his deck, so I'm like, you know, we're both Obelisk Blues. I'm supposed to be a much richer guy. You know, I decided to give myself a little leeway here. Unfortunately for me, he top decks a copy of the elemental hero that he needed so that he can throw down his polymerization to fuse Blade Edge and Wild Heart together in order to summon the E-Hero Wild Edge. And since that is a level 8 monster, it has enough stars to make contact with my satellite and bring it back down to Earth. I am in shambles and I'm left at half life here. So I really need to do something aggressive now. I'm going to be using my Copycat in tandem with my Ryoku to beat over his Wild Edge, and that's going to have to do for the moment. He emergency calls for his Bubble Man, but thankfully for me, he doesn't have another fusion spell, so Tempest isn't on the field just yet. When I top deck another Ojama Yellow though, it's finally time for me to pop that Graceful, and I draw a second Ojama Yellow. So okay, 2 Ojamas go straight to the graveyard. I use one as set. I swing over the Sparkman. Jaden is still very much in this game, by the way, and he gets his own Ring of Destruction. I'm down to 2,000 life points, and my only source of offense is gone once again. I get another Satellite Cannon though, so I'm like, you know, I really need to play. I'm desperate here. I could die at any second. I tribute my face down Ojama Yellow. Thankfully, he didn't attack anything, and I equip my Satellite with the Mage Power. So now, after my set card, it's up to 1,500 attack points, and this is gonna have to do. It's really gonna have to get me there. My heart sinks when I see him top deck another Polymerization. Thankfully, though, it was Mudball Man, and since Mudball Man isn't high enough level to get over him, he's just sitting in defense, so I still have time. We go back and forth for a few turns, not accomplishing anything, and then he Miracle Fuses for the elemental hero Electrum, But it's too little too late, because see, I wasn't just sitting around doing nothing, I was stockpiling my satellite's charge power so that I can summon the Unhappy Maiden, creature swap it to force a 0 attack monster on his side of the field, and then attack full force for game. I'm riding the high of my elite dueling skills, so I take this 0 attack deck into my round 2 match with Tyranno. I get the level limit area B, so I'm putting all of his dinos into defense mode, and there's not a lot that he can accomplish here. But he doesn't just sit there without fighting back, because he does manage to summon his superconductor Tyranno. I get a copycat off of it, and since it's a level 1, it can sneak under the level limit and attack everything that he has, except he gets rid of that by using Smashing Ground on a monster that was on my field next to Copycat, and then using Dark Hole to finally remove it from the field as well, leaving my field pretty barren. What he wasn't ready for was yet another insane 2-card combo, as I get an equip spell and the Mucus Yolk, another low-level monster who can bypass the level limit so I can attack directly. And if you weren't aware, Mucus Yolk, who usually has 0 attack points, can not only attack directly, but increase its own attack points by 1,000 every time it manages to do damage. So after a couple of swings, Tyranno loses the duel. Yet another masterful performance from the one and only Chazz Princeton. While this deck is doing amazing, I know it's not going to be entirely enough on its own, so my spirit monster guides me back to the north of the island, taking me to the well all the way on the coastline, because I need to find his brothers. And here's where I put together my new deck. Just like how Chazz searched for the Ojama brothers and constantly kept them and their support in his deck, I'm putting together Soitsu, Aitsu, Doitsu, and Koitsu for a low power, high level deck that's honestly going to be highly dependent upon the battle recruiters. So yeah, essentially I have to get one of the vanillas onto the field and then equip it with the effect monster. However, Aitsu and Koitsu are tribute monsters, Aitsu needing 1 sacrifice and Koitsu needing 2, and since they are high level monsters, frontline base would not be able to summon the Koitsu from my hand for me, so I have to get really creative with how I get that on the field. If I get Soitsu's combo, I have a 2500. If I get the more difficult combo, I have 3000 with piercing. Let's just see how this does. We advance to the next day, and we go meet our opponent for the school duel. Of course, just like the rest of this game, who could be a greater threat to myself other than myself? And now that we're finally here, let's see which one of these sassy white boys is going to come out on top. Plays so nice that I did it twice. Avoided attacking because I was expecting the set monster to be a mass dragon, and when I'm counting on 1 face down, in true Spirit Caller fashion, here comes an MST. I was prepared though, because this time it was chainable as I flipped Dust Tornado to get rid of his set. Unfortunately, he thought of the exact same thing, for I am him, he is me, and we are one. Doubly unfortunate for me, he also probably expected that I was expecting that his face down monster was going to be a mass dragon, so it wasn't. It was the actual armed dragon level 3. I have a Turner. Never mind, I don't have any time actually, because he's gonna level it up right now, and then he activates a second copy of level up, wasting 0 time. Here is the armed dragon level 7. He uses graveyard from the 4th dimension to put his 2 armed dragons in the graveyard back into his deck, and while his hand is empty, he has complete and utter control of the field right now. While I might be okay on life points at the moment, now I'm out of cards that I can really rely on, so I have to flip over my Gravity Bind, which stops any monster that's level 4 or higher from being able to attack. Unfortunately for me though, Twin-Headed Behemoth is a level 3 monster, and at 1500 it can swing over everything that I have in my deck. Then things go from bad to worse, because of course Chazz draws into another Stamping Destruction, getting rid of my Gravity Bind, allowing his 2 armed dragon monsters to go crazy on my defensive lineup. So the fate of the duel comes down to a single top deck and I draw Soitsu. So I summon my spirit monster in attack mode and pass turn, and that's when he falls for my face down trap, the Justy Break, destroying his field and allowing me to use my Call of the Haunted trap card to bring back the Doitsu that he destroyed earlier in the duel so that I can unionize them together and have a 2500 beat stick on my field. This goes great for a while, but I don't have any other offense as all I get is an Aitsu onto my board, so I'm just trading 1 for 1, and then on his next turn, he finally throws down the Heavy Storm spell card, destroying all of my spells and trap cards, including the Doitsu that I was depending so much on, reducing my spirit monster to 0 attack, and using 2 more armed dragons to clear my board once again. All I have are the 2 cards in my hand and whatever comes off the top of the deck. Until I realize that earlier in the duel I already played the Gold Sarcophagus, planning for this very moment. I made sure that I kept my life points high enough so that I can activate the Premature Burial card that's in my hand, because in the Golden Sarcophagus was another copy of my spirit monster. So I get to pay the 800 life points to revive my Soitsu and unionize once more for another massive 2500 monster, more than enough to take down his armed dragon level 5. Eventually I draw the last copy of Doitsu that was in my deck, so when his masked dragon slips under my level limit to destroy my Kamakiri that I left for him on purpose, I summon the last Soitsu out of my deck, unionize it on the next turn, and now with 2 of my beat sticks, my spirit monster has enough damage on board that it can push for game. And that's how I made a sick comeback for round 1 of the match. The second round didn't go so well though. I opened with 2 Doitsu and a Flying Kamakiri and a Skelangel. I thought the Kamakiri floats me into Soitsu, I have Gravity Bind to help me stall after that, and this is Spirit Callers, so of course they had the MST. I get my combo off though, I get to unionize, and he responds with a Smashing Ground. Then all of his dragons curb stomp me until I have 300 life points left. Then even though my stats are nice, he has a level 7 and Banner of Courage, so thank God I top decked the Justy Break and I managed to flip that over. I destroy a couple of his monsters, some of them stay though, but now I have the opportunity to start fighting back, and of course, guess what I lose to? A Marshmallow. Very nice, Chazz. For the final round of this match, you know, winner takes all, I opened the God Hand, getting 1 of each of my recruiters, multiple Justy Breaks, a Call of the Haunted, and the Gold Sarcophagus, which you know I had to use to search for that Gravity Bind in case I need that later. I played it really smart, you know, not wanting to lose the duel to another Stamping Destruction, so I'm really conservative with how many trap cards I'm placing on the field at one given time, and I let his armed dragons do whatever they feel like doing up until I can finally set up my combo and show him the power of my spirit monster. I flip over my Mirror Force, I go ahead and clear his board, and now I can do what I please, but before I go into battle, I decide to throw down my Mystical Space Typhoon, and I trade with his Dust Tornado. So I guess the AI doesn't recognize unions as actual spells and trap cards because he could have still chained since it was my turn, and he chose not to destroy it. I swing into a Magician of Faith so he gets a second chance, and instead he uses the MST on my level limit. So that's cool, I suppose. Now my Gravity Bind is safe, and ultimately he loses because of his own bad decision making, so he's gonna have to learn how to live with that. Chazz is a very complicated player who has a lot of emotional issues, and if I lost to a deck that looked like basketball players in the 60s, I would have issues too. Now that we have all of that out of the way, we are finally at the good part, so we can take on the Shadow Riders. I'm going to be doing this back-to-back gauntlet style since we're already more than familiar with what happens at this point in the plot. Let's see how I do. First up, of course, is Night Shroud, and he might have a jacket that matches mine, but I have a deck that far outclasses his. He leads with the Field Spell Mountain, boosting the attack of all dragons on the field, which he doesn't know boosts mine now that I'm on armed dragons. He tops that with Malevolent Nuzzler so that he can give his monster a 700 attack boost, bringing it up to a whopping 24, but this is no problem because during my standby phase, I can level up my Armed Dragon from level 3 to level 5. Then I chain my face down Call of the Haunted so I can revive my level 3 and get 2 monsters for the price of 1. Unfortunately for me though, either Spirit Callers has issues or this just was the ruling in an older version of Master Rule, but my level 3 does not prompt the evolution effect, so it's just kind of stuck there. Really sad to see, but it is what it is. I'm still getting a second evolution regardless because my level 5 destroyed a monster in battle this turn, so it turns into the Armed Dragon level 7 with 2800, and this feels so amazing to have going. Not for long though, because first he uses Premature Burial on his Element Dragon to bring it back to the field, and then he uses Autonomous Action Unit to steal my level 5, which I'm like, that's fine. I still have level 7, except he had paid 500 life to get back his Malevolent Nuzzler, and he throws that onto the level 5, putting it at 3100 attack points. All of this before his normal summon, and he shits all over the monsters on my side of the field, so I'm in a devastating spot now. Not to mention that with Mass Dragon on the field being a fire type, Element Dragon gets an extra 500 attack, and now that my Armed Dragon is on his side of the field and it's a wind type monster, it gives Element Dragon a second attack every turn, so this lets him tear through 2 of my bodies when I set the UFO Turtle, and sadly one of them is in my hand, so that's 1 less attack that I get to try to absorb a hit with. But now I'm safe and sound because my UFOs float into my Mass Dragons, who then float into my Armed Dragon level 3 so that it can level up again on my next turn, and I can equip my dragon with Megamorph. Since my life points are lower, its attack is going to be doubled up to 4800 stats, and he swings over Night Shroud Stolen Dragon, which does massive amounts of life point damage. Now, this normally means that now that my life is higher, Megamorph would be reducing my dragon. However, that's irrelevant because I destroyed a monster in battle and I played 2 copies of level 7, something that Chazz deck does not do. Eventually, I use my own pre-mat to bring back my Armed Dragon, and with the 2 of these swinging on all of his monsters, there's nothing that Night Shroud can do, so I've won this shadow game. Next on the roster is obviously Camula, and whoever left that comment that used to be up that said Bastion doesn't discriminate, yes. You hate to see a level 7 in your hand, but the rest is pretty doable. First I summon my 1200, I play level up to turn into a 2400. During my next turn I call all the Haunted so that I can have 2 tribute monsters on my field. I attack her monster so that 1 levels up once more, and on my 3rd turn I use my level 5 to hit her face down, expecting it to be the Pyramid Turtle, and she doesn't go into a second copy, instead immediately summoning the Ryokoki, which might be another programming issue, so now my level 7 can run that over, not leaving her anything to work with here. Then I'm already feeling like I have the dual 1, and of course I top deck the 1 of my Armed Dragon level 10. How could you not put that on the board? And Jesus Christ, he's so tall. I don't remember him looking like this. I get in for a direct attack, and while Camula's life is low, she's not dead yet, so I play 1 card that Chazz never ran. Level Down, a quick play spell card, so while my 10 reverts back a stage, I get to hit her for another 28 and seal the deal. Now that Bastion's SPH is over, Tanya can stop wasting her time with him and come duel with me. She puts a Swordswoman on field and gets another one engraved with the Graceful Charity that she then revives with the Premature Burial. But my Kamakiri shields me from both of her attacks while also setting me up for another level up play. So that monster combined with my Luster Dragon has no problem overpowering her. She does manage to revive one of her swordswomen when I do get my level 7 on the field, but since the AI is programmed only to see damage, she suicides with it, and so now I'm at an overwhelming advantage. She doesn't really see any spells or traps for the rest of the duel, and that is a easy victory once again. Now before we start the Donzalug mission, I wanted to come up with something that would spice things up, and then I had the perfect idea.
How about We hear from them!
Since the Dark Scorpions are a bunch of spirits that have come to life, what better way to beat them than to use my own spirit monsters? Also, because Don Zalug's like 1400, so I feel like my dragons would be just a little too strong for them. See what I mean? I had a very passive first turn, which gave Don Zalug not only the ability to summon himself, but an 1800 beater. What he didn't know was that he was swinging into my Sangan, and I had both of my vanillas in hand already, so I got to search not one, but both of my Union monsters, because I had Call of the Haunted to bring Sangan back to the field. And I am so lucky that he didn't use Zalug's effect in order to rip a card in my hand, or I would shit and cry. Frontline base is about to change the momentum of this entire duel, because Don Zalug might be him, but he doesn't know that this is that guy. Yes, that is literally his name. So Frontline base special summons Witch Guy, I normal summon that guy gets equipped with Witch Guy, boosting that guy up to 25. Then I use this girl to discard this guy, and that guy attacks that other girl, who unfortunately banishes this guy and herself and destroys Witch Guy. But we're not done yet, because this card revives this guy from the graveyard. I tribute that rat in order to summon that other guy. Then this guy destroys his equip to equip onto that other guy, and now that other guy has 3100 with piercing. Now clip this and ask your favorite Yugi tuber to react to it. The Dark Scorpions go back to their spirit forms, and now that I know that Chazz actually keeps them in the room with the other spirits that he's collected so far, I had a hilarious idea. Since Abydos is supposed to have a deck full of a lot of low power monsters, I decided that this is the perfect time to play the Dark Scorpions to prove that I am the true king of dual spirits. He uses the gold sarcophagus to search for the heavy storm, and even though I know that that's coming in a couple of turns, I still fully play into it because, like an idiot, I misremembered what the first, second, and third sarcophagus cards do. It was my recollection that if they left the field, the Pharaoh card that they summon would die too, but they leave the field in order to summon him, so that's not gonna go well for me later, and that's why I make a couple of, misplays here. I have to use the Ring of Destruction to destroy the Pyramid Turtle because I believe he does play a Ryukoki, and that'll probably be game if he gets that out onto the field, but I do take direct damage here. I top deck Monet the Thorn, and I have to activate the A forces in hand, even though I know it gets destroyed next turn, because this is the only way that I can beat over the Giant Germ, doing damage, triggering her effect, allowing me to add one of the Dark Scorpions. Abydos resolves all three of the sarcophagus cards, summoning the spirit of the Pharaoh with 2500, and he goes 3 for 1 now that the heavy storm finally drops. I take heavy damage, being left with only 1300 life points here, or should I say 300, because you have to deal with the Giant Germs eventually, so I use Marauding Captain and clip the Trap Remover in order to run into them in battle, taking an extra 1000 collectively. I get to buy myself one more turn with my face down negate attack, but I need the spirits in my deck to answer me, or this is where I die. My deck responds to my wishes, giving me Gorg the Strong, who can not only beat over the clown zombie, but use his ability in order to send the spirit of the Pharaoh back to the hand. Luckily, I had the foresight to switch Cliff the Trap Remover into defense mode because Abydos had the Copycat, which would have killed me. Don Zalug sticks around long enough even after my Gorg leaves the field, and I draw a second Gorg, who then gets summoned. Now between his ability to do big damage, his effect in order to throw away the top card of Abydos' deck, and my Robin Goblin, who's ripping cards out of the hand, there is nowhere where Abydos' cards is safe, and before long, his life points aren't either. That is game. We're batting 6 for 7 and playtime is over because we all know very well that Titan has lots of powerful, high-octane rare cards. My Mass Dragon manages to get me on by long enough to do the traditional combo, leveling up to 5, and then thanks to the Megamorph play that we saw earlier in the video, I know to use Armed Dragon in order to attack the Slate Warrior to make its effect useless. Unfortunately for me though, summoning the level 7 was also useless because it gets destroyed. It doesn't stay dead for long though, thanks to the spell card level modulation, summoning out the level 7 back from the grave even though it's not supposed to usually be summoned outside of its own effect. This does give him 2 extra cards, which can be very dangerous for me, but in this case I think I really need to do this. His own Nightmare Steel Cage works against him, allowing me to level up one more time, but now my level 5 is staring down the Skull Archfiend of Lightning, and while I do have a response, he can roll a die with the lightning, and if he gets a 1, 3, or a 6, my card will be negated. I see he took a page out of my book. While the negate attack might have been, well, negated, I still have the level 7 in order to run over the Archfiend and put it down. But on his next turn, he activates Brain Control to steal my dragon just to sack it off for another copy of the Archfiend. This guy just has everything because not only does he have the MST for my Call of the Haunted, but when I attempt to power him down with my Megamorph, he rolls successfully again, negating that too. For several turns, my monsters get destroyed left and right, taking hit after hit like some sort of meat shield for me, until I have no other choice but to throw down the Premature Burial and bet it all on Kalshi. I'm kidding, fuck AI. I revive the level 5 and use his effect, discarding my level 10, and it's successful. Even though it targets the Skull Archfiend, fails to negate his ability, finally hitting the dirt. I attack directly. He uses a trap card to revive the lightning, but thankfully for me, it's only until the end of this turn. Pandemonium causes him to shuffle his deck twice, losing cards that would have destroyed my monster. He tries to come at me one more time, throwing a Smashing Ground into the mix, which would destroy my level 5, but I was prepared for this as well, as I flip over the level down spell card. This not only reduces my level 5 into a level 3, which a much lower defense stat, so that it's not the monster who gets destroyed, but it puts the level 5 back into my deck, so that when it's back to my turn, my level 3 levels up once again. Now it can attack for game. And that's all that I heard. Since I was talking about keeping things canon, it feels absolutely necessary to battle the Kaiba Man. But what would be more challenging than being pit up against Seto Kaiba's deck? Doing it with a bunch of random draft cards. So my goal here was to use Infernal Tempest and allow his Blue Eyes White Dragon to hit me directly. That way I can banish everybody's decks, use some sort of removal card like a Dark Core or what have you to get rid of his card, and then hopefully be able to use Return from the Different Dimension to swing for game. Unfortunately, we have more than 4,000 life points, so that's probably not going to be enough, but you know, I can figure it out from there. And I never got the opportunity to do that because, well, the draft gave me one Jinzo, and I drew it, and Torrential's coming down, and yeah, I mean he lost to this. That was it. Remember all those renovations I was talking about? Check it out. We're finally in unexplored territory back at the Chancellor's office, and he's telling us that Professor Banner has gone missing. When I wake up the next day to try to go to school, a bunch of women walk into my room telling me that Alexis has been kidnapped again and Chazz is missing for like the second or third time. Nobody is safe on this fucking island, bro. Shut this school down. We're back at the abandoned dorm once again, and we've been here so many times that Jaden is becoming self-aware and he's questioning the plot of the story. It was the 7th Shadow Rider, Amnail, here to put us through absolute hell as we have 2 back-to-back duels against him, and he has one of the strongest decks in the entire game because he has a different dimension deck, so expect your cards to be banished left and right, expect ultra consistency from him, expect your cards to be destroyed, the entire works. This is unrelated to anything, but I realized that I never explained why I have the level 10 armed dragon, because that actually wasn't revealed until the Society of Light arc. And basically, since Chazz got all of his armed dragon cards from North Academy, it would only make sense that level 10 was always in his deck and he just never drew it, so that's why I made that decision. Anyways, moving on with the duel now. He begins the duel with the Mausoleum of the Emperor field spell, allowing him to exchange life points instead of sacrificing monsters for tribute summons, letting him open with the Golden Homunculus. Now, I have to deal with this right away because it has the potential to be the highest attack monster in his entire deck, so I MST the Dimensional Fissure to prevent my monsters from being banished so that they can hit the graveyard, because if Kamakiri doesn't go to the grave, I don't get his effect, and same thing with cards like Mass Dragon and UFO Turtle. So while I set up this armed dragon play, I'm actually going to normal summon the UFO Turtle in my hand, and I'm going to crash into him several times, running through all of my turtles and all of my dragons to get a second armed dragon onto the field so that I'm thinning my deck by 5 entire cards. Now my level 5 can swing over the Homunculus, evolve during the end phase, and I'm in a great position here. Luster Dragon destroys his face down monster, making room for my other monsters to attack his life points directly, and now that he's out of Mausoleum range, there's nothing else that he can work with, so game 1 is clear. This is the part where he reveals that he was Professor Banner the entire time, but Bitcoin's been tanking, so I was too busy buying in the dip to pay attention to his speech. He shows me enough mercy that he chooses to go second, so now I'm taking the lead in this beautifully cosmic battlefield, but I have to make the most of this because once he gets a Macrocosmos or a Dimension Fissure, I'm completely out of options as that shuts down half of my deck. I get lucky and he doesn't have either one of those cards, but he does have the DD Assailant, so while I do get my go-to combo, I don't have an out to this, so I need to top deck it before I can accomplish anything, and thankfully Luster Dragon comes to my rescue. Now that the Sapphire Slayer has taken one for the team, I get the opportunity to draw First Blood in a major way. And it turns out that his set card wasn't a battle trap of any kind, but a smashing ground. I was prepared for this though, because I set my body as a shield, paying 1500 life points in order to keep my dragons alive. I thought that this card makes perfect sense because it's never really been printed higher than common at this point in time, and also Chazz later on in the real card game gets an Ojama card whose effect protects his armed dragons from destruction, so I felt like it was a good fit. And thanks to that decision, I'm now 3 monsters to his 1, so I'm attacking with the twin-headed behemoth, and I run into another marshmallow-like card. Thankfully, I still have a monster in hand, so I'm able to use the effect of my armed dragon to get rid of it now. We're trying this one more time on his new set monster. Learning my lesson, I go for the level 5, and it turns out to be a morphing jar, giving both of us a completely new hand, which is actually really scary because he might have everything that he needs to turn the tides since he has just a little over 2,000 life points left. But I'm not gonna let him get the chance because after my level 5 levels up one more time, I'm throwing on the Ring of Destruction to close this game immediately. And with that, Chazz Princeton has now defeated the 7 Shadow Riders. But before we can get to the climax of this storyline, we have a couple of things to take care of. First, we have to be introduced to Atticus Rhodes over on the beach. I'm back on my XYZ deck, and he challenges us to a duel that we can't say no to. His deck is actually pretty simple. It's mostly Beast or Beast Warrior related. His strongest monsters in my duel seem to be the Panther Warrior, so once you get over that, there's really nothing that he has to stop you with. Beating him causes him to think that it's perfectly normal to ship your sister to a total stranger. This actually really triggers Chazz, so he challenges you to a duel over her love. Now, the issue is, none of the cards that he used were ever printed, let alone put into this game of all things, so I don't actually have a deck that I can create that would accurately replicate it, and neither could the devs, so they just gave him a bunch of stall and burn because I must win by any means. And now here we are wasting our time. Now, I opened what was probably the best possible hand to deal with this because I started off not just with the sealed sarcophagus in order to search whatever card, but I have both of the copies of Dust Tornado that I added to my deck specifically for this duel. Then I felt extra confident because I managed to pop his Nightmare Wheel and his Mirror Force. Unfortunately, even though I only had to wait one more turn for the X-Head Cannon, I decided to pay half of my life points against a burn deck. Now, I will say, despite this obviously stupid mistake, I was doing really well for myself, with the XY Dragon Cannon destroying his face-up back row like his level limits and gravity binds. But between 20 turns of Lava Golem, Ojama King locking my zones, Marshmallow, and Stealth Bird, I was finally overwhelmed and couldn't draw enough of the outs in time, so I finally lost another duel here. Luckily, this isn't a duel that's relevant to the plot, so we're perfectly fine, is what I thought, but they force you to win this duel in order to progress the story. It's actually ludicrous. So this time around, I used Lava Golem for tribute fodder just like I did last time. I left Heavy Mech in attack mode so that the Stealth Bird would attack it and run into my limiter removal spell. I kept my hand size at a nice number so that I had resources for Dragon Cannon to blow back the back row. And even when the Mirror Force was finally flipped over, I was prepared with the card that ended it all the first time, Return from the Different Dimension, to finish the battle phase and claim victory. Now Kagemaru reveals himself and he wields 3 decks based around each of the sacred beasts. You can't just win the duel though, you have to allow him to summon them first before you can defeat him. This actually gets really challenging because, like my very first attempt that you're seeing here, I had to hurry up and win because he had the wave motion cannon that was gonna kill me if I didn't end things first, and I'd be damned if I ruined my record any more than it already has been. This means that I sat here for over an hour, whether I won or lost, because most of the time he never summoned the sacred beast against me, and it was agonizing. But when he finally did, here's how it went. I lead with the level 3 for the first time because I'm confident that he can't get multiple monsters out on the field, and I was right. Also, thankfully, he has the gold sarcophagus, so he's going to be searching his Haman finally. He starts with Sheeran the Mage, and I can't allow that to stay on the field too long since it has the ability to pop my back row, which I'm desperately going to need if I want to get through this duel, so we're both taking 18 here, and my Arm Dragon will level up. Staying aggressive does me wonders now that he doesn't have a lot of trap cards to fall back on, because I get to drop him all the way down to 3,400, but he does summon the Exiled Force to go 1-for-1 with me. Leaving me with just the UFO Turtle, I have to make the executive decision to tribute summon my Arm Dragon instead of waiting to evolve into it again, because I need to keep the pressure on now while it's still feasible to do so. And also, by leaving him at 1,000 life points, that's one less thing that I have to worry about when Haman finally does hit the field. And would you believe it if I said he goes 1-for-1 again with a second Exiled Force? Thankfully, that's the last copy. DD Warrior Lady is gonna be immensely irritating for me to deal with though, because once I do get something that runs over it, it's gonna be banished and I still have to deal with the Haman. So I'm gonna let her destroy my UFO to trigger the Grave of Enkindling to put my Arm Dragon with its 17 defense points to use, because the monsters revived off of this trap card can't switch into attack position. And now that that card's walled out while I'm waiting for Haman's conditions to be met, I have to just depend on the heart of the cards to take me the rest of the way. Now here's where I summon the White Horned Dragon. It's actually been in this deck the entire time and I haven't drawn it until now. See, it's a very rare dragon from this era, so I figured that if anybody would have it and if anyone's deck would suit this card, it would be Chazz, thus why I included it. On summon, it banishes multiple spell cards from the opponent's graveyard, which makes it perfect for this Haman duel, and then it powers up by 300 for each, putting it at a nice 28. And now with the summoning conditions fulfilled, Kagemaru sends 3 face-up spell cards on his field to the grave to summon Haman, the Lord of Striking Thunder. He swings in, attempting to do colossal damage, but I was prepared with a negate attack. And while you've probably seen by now that I had another option here, that's not going to be necessary because I've been holding on to Fairy Meteor Crush this entire duel. So equipping it gives my White Horn Dragon piercing, and attacking into the DD Warrior Lady puts an end to this first duel. The second Sacred Beast is the King of Blazing Infernos, and you can see that we have everything we're going to need to take it on. Chazz was actually shown to have Lightning Vortex in his deck during the ending theme of Season 4. And because his name is Manjome Thunder, it made perfect sense to be in his deck, so I went ahead and added it here. Being a trap-centric deck, obviously he's mostly playing stun, so I can't just dig in with a bunch of damage nice and early to get a head start, so I'm actually walled out by the Wall of Revealing Light, making all of my monsters unable to attack because they can't get over 3,000 attack points. At least not until I get Axe of Despair on my Armed Dragon, but that doesn't stop him from getting more traps in order to fulfill his requirements. And as you can see, my back row is completely clogged up, but that's for two reasons. One, because of anti-spell fragrance, so I have to set the spells so that they're ready when I need them. And two, because Uriah can destroy back row and you can't use those cards to respond to his effect. So I want to make sure that even if he hits one of my better cards, that I still have a backup plan somewhere on my field. And soon enough, here it is, Uriah, the Lord of Searing Flames. Too bad it dies to a structure deck card. So, just like good old times, I destroy his monster with the card effect, I attack directly, and then that's game. All we have left in our way is the Shimmering Sovereign, and Kagamaru has an insane early game here because he allows us to level up into the Armed Dragon 5 before he flips over his Torrential Tribute Trap card. And when I think that the playing field is pretty even, he reveals that he also had Call of the Haunted to bring back the Gilgarth, and he stacks it alongside the Slate Warrior for massive power. But if this deck is good for one thing, it's bouncing back in a big way, so I get out my second level 5 in no time, destroy the Slate Warrior, and level up once more. Thankfully though, I didn't go too crazy, so he does get enough fiends on his field to tribute 3 of them for Raviel, the Lord of Phantasms. With 4,000 attack to its name, it doesn't break a sweat trampling over my Armed Dragon. But that's exactly what I wanted to happen, because now I can use the level modulation spell in my hand to revive my level 7 at the cost of giving him 2 cards, and I'm perfectly fine with that because I'm going to level up one more time for the Armed Dragon level 10. Its effect discards a card to destroy every face-up monster on my opponent's side of the field, so Raviel is no more. And thanks to the Axe of Despair, I have my own 4,000 beast. And for a 2007 deck like this, it's just too much of an overwhelming force, so I take the game with the greatest of ease, and Kagemaru has finally been defeated. This island is also full of such terrible people that I saved the world and no one said thank you. Chazz, you deserve better than this, man. I stayed up late all night fixing my deck because we have an impossible opponent up next. Chumley. This is the only person who's gotten away with beating us. I'm not gonna let this Bigfoot lopsided looking motherfucker get away with it. So I'm excited that I get a spin back on this. And now that that's over, I'm gonna get out of here before Chumley gets emotional again. After a long hard day of class, I'm trying to make my way back to the dorm when I get an unexpected visitor. And I am so embarrassed that the room's not ready. Give me a second. That's much better. Anyways, Zane is here to tell me that he's choosing me as the opponent for his graduation match and that I cannot refuse. I'm shaking in my boots. Now obviously Chazz has had a lot of different decks, so there's a lot of different things that I could potentially bring to this duel. You have the XYZ Union still, the Armed Dragons have been phenomenal for me, and maybe we can get a dragon versus dragon moment. And then there's even the Union monsters that I've managed to put together, as well as the North Academy draft deck that has powerful cards in it like Goblin Attack Force and Jinzo. But I've come up with something even greater. After all, this is a challenge run, so against the one and only star of the Academy, Zane Truesdale, I'm going to be using Ojamas. Against the deck that can special summon tributes, attack twice, and summon 4K beaters that do piercing damage, what better way to show that I am the best duelist than to win with an Ojama deck in true Chazz fashion? Obviously, I'm going to use a lot of his staples like Chthonian Polymer here, which I drew 2 of thankfully, because he does actually still run this card, even though his Hell deck was supposed to have been ruined by the Chancellor of North Academy, and he ruins my entire combo frame 1, Heavy Storm, and the Nobleman of Cross out. So I lose my defense. Thank God he doesn't have anything to swing with right now. And also thank you to past me. I'm so glad I had the foresight to not set both of my polymers. So I summon the Mushroom Man, and I get really brave here, and I attack with only 800 points, taking stupid amounts of damage because I swung into the Gear Moving Fortress. Whatever. I'm still hurt, honestly, that he did that to my back row. I was really counting on the Law of the Normal to help me turbo through my deck and get lots of bodies on the field as well. It sucks that I've lost that, but a couple of turns go by, he doesn't summon anything, and then after playing Proto Cyber, here comes the Power Bond for the Cyber Twin Dragon, a double attacking monster with 5600 attack. And I have the Chthonian Polymer, tributing one of my Mushroom Men in order to steal that dragon from him, and since he was the person who used Power Bond, he still takes the damage. Since he's supposed to be the greatest duelist on the Academy, I expect him to have a card like Mirror Force or maybe even Torrential Tribute, so I don't bother summoning the Clown Zombie even though that would let me push for game. Instead, I go straight into the battle phase with the Cyber Twin, and while he doesn't have a battle trap, he does have Call of the Haunted to reduce the attack a little bit because he gets to use Cyber Dragon as a shield. Mushroom Man is, this is probably one of the only times he's ever gotten to attack directly. And while it might not be Mirror Force, it's pretty damn close. However, he had to discard the only other card in his hand to use the Lightning Vortex. And since it was Premature Burial, he has nothing to protect himself with. There's not a single effect monster in my entire deck. I summon the Clown Zombie and I attack Zane directly for game. I've beaten Zane Truesdale with only vanillas. And that was all I heard. The second year of Duel Academy has started, and we get our introduction to the one and only Aster Phoenix, who's been standing outside of our dorm waiting for us and decides to challenge us to a duel. Okay, Polly, pretty good, pretty good. Now I know it's Aster Phoenix, but I didn't expect a full power hero deck. Thankfully I had 2 Chthonian Blasts, but I still take the burn from both of those and the Flare Wingman, so I really need something juicy off of the top of the deck right now. And then he has Pot of Avarice, so he gets it all back anyways. I can fire the MST right here, and Dorothy, you lying bitch. You said that he made that deck out of fucking spare packs. He had a Mirror Force in there. I'm in a bad mood. I just got cheated out of a game. I've been sitting here recording for 7 hours, and now I gotta deal with Tyranno. I don't got time for this, bro. And once again, I forgot that because the show wasn't finished yet, what a horrible person they made Aster in this game. He walks up to Cyrus and says, I completely shit on your brother with my deck of spare cards, and then just walks away. he's so unlikable here, bro. It's crazy. I spend the next several weeks not doing anything, and this was the most frustrating part of trying to capture footage for this, but every person I run into warned you about how dangerous Zane has become now. And it's even to the point that we find Chazz laid out in the woods, traumatized. And whatever's been happening to him is apparently so bad that Atticus asked to meet us at the top of the volcano in the middle of the night. My parents would not let me stay here if they knew what the hell was happening. Atticus has donned the mask of Night Shroud once again, believing it's going to be his only shot at bringing Zane back. His medallion was never actually mentioned in this game. It's kind of just there for no reason. That's pretty funny. So my new deck for the finale of the game is going to be combining the armed dragons with the XYZ cards, obviously. And that actually means that I'm playing a lot of different recruiters because I have the Shining Angel, the Masked Dragon, and the Kamakiri. And while at first that sounds like that would be incredibly consistent, actually it means that I had to cut a lot of the different support cards for each of the deck. For example, with the Union monsters, I'm only playing one of each. And as you know, X-Head Cannon is too strong to be searched by Shining Angel. So yeah, we're both not only fighting for field presence, but using our traps to destroy each other's recruiter monsters so that the other player won't climb into too much advantage. I get hit with both a Sakuretsu and a Mirror Force, but I in turn activate a Chthonian Blast and a Call of the Haunted, so ultimately I'm still left with a monster to attack with, and unfortunately he had the Spirit Reaper the entire time, which kind of makes you feel like he wasted the Mirror Force, but I'll take what I can get. Since I opened this duel with 2 Kamakiris in hand, I don't want to use one to crash into the Masked Dragon because I'm going to run out of resources that way, so ultimately I decide to use my X-Head Cannon to attack the face down, and I'm glad that I did because if he had drawn a Red Eyes, that would have put me in a very difficult position to get out of. He throws down the Swords of Revealing Light, so while I'm unable to attack, I summon and then equip the Z Metal Tank to keep both of my machines alive. He runs over one of the Kamakiris with the Element Dragon, and when he eventually kills the second one, that triggers my Chthonian Blast to finally out the Spirit Reaper. And lastly, I drew Mystical Space Typhoon to destroy his premature burial so that he's not getting any free bodies off of the Masked Dragon. Speaking of Masked Dragon though, mine was finally able to summon the Armed Dragon, and I happen to draw my Y Dragon Head this same turn. Unequip my Z Metal Tank so that I can attack with all 4 monsters. Now my Armed Dragon level 7 stands beside my XYZ Dragon Cannon. Activate your Hyper Destruction effect, clear his field, and make room for the Armed Dragon level 10! This part of the game is the most affected by all of the changes to the storyline because we never go over the fact that he just challenged me to a goddamn shadow game, or also that he lost a shadow game and is still alive. We don't go over how the change of clothes work, where do the clothes come from, where do they go. You're gonna see a lot more moments like this, but they were working with what they had. I forgot to mention this earlier, but we're actually in the middle of the GX tournament, even though they didn't call it that. So since this is just a regular tournament, Crowler is here announcing the finalists, being myself, Jaden, Aster, and Alexis. Guess which one we're not gonna duel? Finally, after all the rumors of Zane being here, he's been spotted at the volcano and I have to go take him on. Even the power of the shadow games enhancing his deck wasn't enough for Atticus to take on the new Dark Zane, as the game is calling him. And might I add, I really miss when games had blinking like this. Like, I don't know if any of the other games later down in the franchise have this. I don't recall them having this. It's really nice. It's really nice, just not when you stare at it for too long. Everyone is convinced that the only way to bring Zane back to his old self is to finally topple him off of the mountain, and as you might expect, they've left that job up to the Chazz. It's time to duel. Many of the people who played this game will tell you that if Amnail isn't the most difficult duelist to beat, then Dark Zane is, so we definitely have our work cut out for ourselves. I go with the T-set pass, and he not only opens the Cyber Dragon, but the 1850 Mechanical Chaser. Thankfully, my Masked Dragon is enough to wall off both attacks, but then I misclicked and I summon another mass dragon instead of my armed dragon. But that's okay because my deck responds to my will, and the level 5 cuts straight to the top of the deck so that I can summon him anyways. Once it tears down his cyber dragon, it can evolve at the end of the turn and leave Zane depending on defense. But not before my Ring of Destruction takes out the mechanical chaser, because I'm really hammering in the aggressive tactics while I have the opportunity. Zane uses the Dark World Lightning to try and cut down on my back row, and I chain my Call of the Haunted because Lightning would only destroy the card if it's still face down on resolution, but he had the MST in response, so I don't get my monster. He didn't have a monster either though, so I get to cut him all the way down to 1550. On his next turn, he special summons Cyber Dragon in defense mode because he knew his Lightning Vortex was going to be stopped by my set card, My Body as a Shield, protecting all of the monsters on my side of the field. And just like I did to Camula, I'm going to finish this duel with the Shining Angel so that its holy light can carry away your darkness. This duel is mine. You've lost, Zane. He doesn't seem to have changed much after his defeat, but Atticus is confident that if you just give him enough space and time, he'll eventually return back to us. And so we let him go. The next morning, we're finally here at the finale of the tournament and this entire game. We're gonna have 2 back-to-back best-of-3 matches against Aster and Jaden, both of whom have made significant changes to their decks. Let's duel. For the first duel, I leave Shining Angel in defense mode since Destiny heroes have much weaker attack strength. That way, he can still destroy it. Diamond Dude trades with Mass Dragon only to be met with Destiny Signal, so a 16 defense Diamond Dude walls me out here. Aster summons his Breaker, but never uses its effect even though its original attack is enough to run me over, and he'll regret that soon. In the meantime, I get the first direct attack, and then I level up. He tries to kill my dragon, but I still have My Body as a shield. Somehow, with 3 cards in hand, he doesn't have a monster to play. I'm stunned but grateful as I revive my level 5 and use all 3 monsters to put a swift end to the first game. I'm given the lead, and I must have spoken too soon because now I don't have a normal summon. I put the level 10 in my sarcophagus so that I don't brick on him now, and in case he becomes useful to me later. The D-Spirit plays a Diamond Dude in defense, and Aster hits on his effect, getting a smashing ground for the future. Unfortunately for him, I don't have a monster. Unfortunately for me, I don't have a monster. Destiny Hero Dasher was given one of the craziest downsides ever, and I still couldn't draw a card that kills him. So this glorified speed warrior is gonna keep whooping my ass. Once again though, Mass Dragon is the solution to all my problems in life. I use it to clear Fearmonger because I'd rather let him revive Diamond Dude than the Dasher. Joke is on me though because he uses it to summon another Dasher anyways. I need to make some room so Accelerate trips on a landmine. Now it's safe for level 3 to touch down. I'm running out of time thanks to Clock Tower Prison because once the clock strikes 12, I can't deal any damage. Not to mention, I'm sitting only on 1,000 life points. His Diamond Dude misses, but all it has to do is take a hit. My deck would never fail me though, so I draw the MST to get me out of this jam. Now I can level up. Armed Dragon fires on Aster, but the Destiny Mirage resets his field. Too bad there's no once per turns in GX, so I use it again. All he does is set a card, so I go in solo, playing it carefully. His set monster is the only thing between me and those 500 points, and I've got just the thing. Level Modulation revives a monster, but it can't attack that turn. But I can tribute it for a monster that can. Level 5 batters his puny monster, and level 10 attacks. Now that the private school punk has been humbled, we get our second ever duel against the man on the cover of the game. So for the last time, let the duel begin. First, I put my level 10 in the sarcophagus before passing my turn. It was a play so nice, Jaden did it twice, saving Future Fusion and Dandelion for later. Then he summons the elemental hero Stratos, searching a second copy before he attacks my masked dragon. Now my setup is complete. Jaden tries to ambush me with the torrential tribute, but I kept my body as a shield in the hand so it would be safe from any back row hate since this game loves to do that to me. With that out of the way, go Armed Dragon level 5, Infernal Roar! Use the blood of your enemy to level up again. Jaden might have a skyscraper, but he doesn't have a way to take advantage of it. Feeling more confident than I should, I level up one more time. Come on out, level 10! I summon level 3 right beside him, and even though he recovered his sarcophagus, he's playing too slow now. Level 3 Armed Smash! He gets his first 2 searches and puts Call of the Haunted in the box. Now Future Fusion sends Wildheart and Blade Edge to the graveyard, but he still doesn't have a monster who can attack, so I'm assuming this is Dandelion. Turns out it was King of the Swamp, who dies all the same to my spiked spinner. Level 10 attack directly. Static Orb Blast! Now even with Skyscraper, his life points are too low to make a risky play, so he sets a monster. I trample it and fire, and that's the first round. This could be the last round. Flying Kamakiri makes a guest spot today, while Jaden starts with his Future Fusion this time. He sends the same material, except now he has his Miracle Fusion to play his elemental hero Wild Edge immediately. And since it can attack every monster, I don't have a chance to play my level 3, so I don't use the effect at all so that I can save the other 2 copies for later. Time to throw down Soul Taker, though it gives him 1,000 life. I doubt he would use Heavy Storm with how his back row looks, so I go all in with 3 more face downs. The script writers are hard at work because Jaden polymerizes his Burstinatrix and Swamp King for the elemental hero Flame Wingman. I'm gonna take massive damage, but Call of the Haunted makes it all worth it. The Kamakiri gets destroyed in battle, triggering its effect to summon a wind. And that also trips my Chthonian Blast to drag Wingman to the grave too. Even though I'm at 2400, I've come back from this spot time and time again. And today won't be any different. My Armed Dragon will level up, and thanks to Megamorph, I can punch for 4800 and still keep my attack boost. This forces the second Wild Edge to hit the field in defense mode. After I destroy it, Kamakiri gets a direct attack. Now I can let go of Megamorph here and say hello to the Armed Dragon level 7. Jaden's last desperate move is to hit me with Stratos, and I use Kamakiri to summon my Spirit Monster. I wanted him to see the look on Jaden's face when we win, because I activate the Ring of Destruction to do 1800 damage to us both. You go bye-bye. And with that, people, that is going to be the end of this Chazz challenge run of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Spirit Callers. Thank you for sticking with me for this ride. It's been a lot of fun. I have more content coming soon, but until then, check out these other videos on my channel, and I'll see you later.